Right then, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, hello, wherever you are, whenever it is. My name is Paul, I'm also called Knickknack. I'm the brains behind Knickknack's Old Peculiar, the world's most boring blog. I'm also the man behind the @MrCuddy2977 YouTube channel, which is where I post the daily teaser quiz, both there and on Knickknack's Old Peculiar. I also talk about movies, when I see one I think is worth talking about. I also talk about TV shows I'm enjoying, and there's a few that I try and review if I think you'd be interested in them. I don't know what my last set of reviews was. I really don't. It's been a little while since I've done one. But tonight is Saturday the 7th of September. Last night was Friday the 6th of September. And I saw the recently reanimated classic Doctor Who series, or its first episode, and wanted to tell you about it. The series was the Celestial Toymaker, and it was famously much discussed back in the day. And the first episode is called the Celestial Toyroom. I wanted you to know what I thought and what it was like. Episode 1 of the Celestial Toymaker, the Celestial Toyroom, opens with the Doctor, Stephen and Dodo. William Hartnell, Peter Purvis and Jackie Lane trapped in the TARDIS after the events of the Ark, with the Doctor unfortunately turning both invisible and intangible by something malevolent outside the ship. The Doctor only reappears when the team step out of the TARDIS to find themselves in a strange, childlike new world. The Doctor immediately tells Stephen and Dodo not to look at the screens floating around like floating eyeballs. The things are tools of this creepy new world's ruler, the Celestial Toymaker, who's a powerful entity who plays games with unwary travellers who are trapped in his world if they lose. The Doctor has A, met the Toymaker before, and B, wants to play a little game. Now, what did I make of the Celestial Toyroom, of this opening episode of the Celestial Toymaker? There is possibly a lot we can say here, and I'll probably have to try and cover the word celestial at some point in the upcoming reviews, but that will be for later. I've got 3 more episodes that will take place over the next 3 weeks. But the main thing that I've spotted in this first episode is that it's an old-fashioned idea. It's a variation on, I don't know what the actual name of the trope is, but it's the idea that fuels the modern-day escape room. You're locked in a room for entertainment, and in order to get out of the room, or back to the TARDIS, or safety in this story's case, the cast or the team have to solve a series of puzzles. It's a bit like the Crystal Maze, if you will. Stephen and Dodo in this episode have to beat a pair of clowns at a game of blind man's bluff over an obstacle course, whilst the Doctor tries to beat the Toymaker at his Trilogic puzzle. It's a basic idea that's been seen in the classic show a few times. We can argue that the Keys of Marinus is a variation on the theme, and could have been the first one. And we can also point out that some of the scenes in episode 3 and 4 of Death to the Daleks, the third Doctor and Bilal having to get through a series of puzzles. And it also crops up in the Pyramids of Mars in the last episode. To get to safety, the Doctor and Sarah Jane have to, again, solve a series of puzzles. It's also something that crops up in the 10th Doctor story, 42, a set of scenes where Martha has to solve puzzles to get through a series of airlocks. In other words, it's a reliable old storytelling idea that usually works well. I've enjoyed what I've seen last night, but we'll have to see how the rest of the story pans out over the next 3 weeks. Right, what else caught me? There's possibly a few things. One thing that definitely caught my attention was the look and feel of the episode. One I'm assuming will be replicated in the remaining 3 episodes. Much like the third episode of the Web of Fear, the company that's made this version of the Celestial Toymaker has used motion capture techniques as a basis for the animation. It looks slightly odd. It doesn't look as rapid as I've come to expect from some of the other animations. And with the animated characters styled like carousel horses, the ones on Victorian roundabouts, I'm not sure I'm totally impressed by the design or the slowness of the animation. In their defense, this is the funfair look is an appropriate one to a toy-themed story, as is that overall toy-themed design. It's supposed to look like creepy toys. The animation as well, the design seems well done, and the actual animation, despite it being reminiscent of the Web of Fear episode 3, seems well done, or a lot better than the Web of Fear. My only real complaints with it are relatively minor. One, I didn't like that 3D look. I preferred the cartoony look of earlier animated stories, things like Fury from the Deep, what have you. Two, and much like that animated version of the Web of Fear, the versions of the characters in this episode and story don't look much like the actors who originally played the parts. They look like the characters, but not like the actors. They don't look right, to put it bluntly. They look slightly off-key. They're well drawn, but they're off-key. 3, the climax of the episode, and this is possibly a minor thing, the climax of this episode sees Stephen and Dodo reading a note pinned to the wall as they're going from one room to the next, and it sees them not taking the note with them to that next room, something I feel they should have done so they can refer to it in the next episode room. Make of that what you will. Overall, what did I make of this first episode of the Celestial Toyroom? I have to admit it's flawed, but it's something I found thoroughly enjoyable. It's light, I grant you. I grant you also that I'm not pleased with the design. I preferred some of the flatter look. And granted there is, I feel, possibly a flaw at the end of the episode, but the Celestial Toyroom makes for a diverting 25 minutes or so of entertainment for a quiet Friday night and sets up this story particularly well. Frankly, I will be watching the next episode, The Hall of Dolls, on Friday the 13th of September, and we'll have my written and video reviews up by Sunday the 15th. I will see you then. Until then, take care, have fun, please subscribe to my channel, feel free to poke around the rest of my content, but until then, take care, be good, be seeing you.